for the people who work numbers, I am giving you free advice that those of you who are holding dollars, you surely might go into losses. You better do what you must do, because this market is going to be different in a couple of weeks.
So someone was very upset in one of my comments when I said it doesn't matter, you won't be able to fight back. Let me explain to you exactly what I meant. I'm sure everyone saw the president of Kenya who made a warning to everyone, an announcement, and said that if you hold dollars, you probably want to get rid of them as fast as possible, because in a few weeks, everything's going to change. So let me explain. Here's what happens when the Saudis and OPEC dump the dollar as the international reserve currency for petroleum. Day one, the markets will immediately start to tank. Inflation within a week, maybe two, will start to rise by 50 to 70%. Everyday items that you could walk in the grocery store and grab will now be so expensive you're barely walking out with 2 or 3 things. The dollar at that point will be worthless, because it was at one time on the gold standard, and it was taken off. The only thing the dollar had before was that it now was backed by oil, and that's now gone. So the US dollar at that point will have absolutely no value. Next, Congress will try to implement some type of pricing control. They'll immediately pass through some sort of bill which will do everything in its power to keep pricing low. This will cover everything from groceries, goods, services, utilities. But at that point, the damage will already be done. Here's where their problem begins. Within a few weeks, about 70% of the population of the U.S. will find themselves unemployed. With the dollar now worthless, people won't be going anywhere or doing anything to spend any money, A, because they won't have it, and B, the value of the dollar is done. And this is where the real problem begins. With a large section of the population now unemployed, crime will start. Crime on a scale that no one has ever seen. With people now desperate to do whatever it takes to put food on the table, to take care of themselves and their families. Lawlessness will be found in every corner of the country. Law enforcement and even the National Guard will only have a minimal impact due to the millions and millions of people that will be taken to the streets. Now comes the plan that you knew about all along, but the plan that you can't stop. This is when the government introduces the CBDC, the Central Bank Digital Currency. Everyone is going to be told they're going to have money digitally deposited into their account, which will be available immediately. And the state the nation will be in at that point, everyone will be glad to accept the new currency. You see, the plan isn't to fight you. The plan isn't to try to take you over. The plan is to make you desperate and then offer a solution that you'll gladly accept. And in order to do this, they just need to control your money. But the first step is to take your money away. And the way to do that is to make the dollar worthless. Once the new central bank digital currency is accepted, all of the new programs and systems that have been put in place will now be used. Surveillance, censorship, monitoring, everything that's needed to keep the entire population in line. As I stated before, this isn't going to be something you can fight. They control the monetary system. They control the money. And making the dollar worthless is how they pull the rug out from under you.
The dollar is facing a revolt. The world knows it as the king of currencies, but the dominance of the dollar is now under threat. More and more countries are looking for alternatives, and China's yuan is emerging as a clear challenger. The latest one is with Brazil. Brazil and China are ditching the dollar. From now on, they'll use their own currencies for trade. And why are these trends significant? Because currencies drive commerce. The dollar's dominance gives the US an outsized influence on the global economy, and a shift away from the dollar will only hurt America. It will also hasten the rebalancing of the global economy. And the petro-yuan is rising. Petro-yuan is simply using the yuan to settle oil bills, just like the petrodollar. And China is making an aggressive push for this. It is finding takers in oil-producing nations. Russia, for instance, it has embraced the yuan. So have Iran, Venezuela, and some African nations. Now, reports say Saudi Arabia is also considering the switch from the dollar to the yuan. And this is going to be a very important development. We know that Riyadh has been at odds with Washington and is getting closer to Beijing. But ditching the dollar will be a decisive move. Halfway across the world, Southeast Asia too is losing patience with the US dollar. In Africa, countries like Kenya are dumping the dollar. They'll use the Kenyan shilling for oil imports. So here's a question. Why is all of this happening now? Why is there a global rebellion against the dollar? The Bretton Woods Conference gave the US immense power to dominate the global economy. It created two financial institutions, the IMF and the World Bank, largely controlled by America. And they're still quite powerful and still led by the US. As for the dollar, it is still widely used, both inside and outside the US. About $1 trillion notes are in circulation outside America. Some 40% of the world's debt is issued in US dollars.
Big news, everybody. BRICS. If you've not heard of BRICS, you need to research BRICS. Has just bought out a digital currency backed by gold. In 1971, money was not backed by gold anymore because of America. Now the tables are turning. BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. These countries come together to create a currency backed by gold. This means if you have the currency, there's some money behind it. If I write a check today of £1,000 and give it to a friend, I should have the money behind me to honor the check. What's been going on since 1971, the USA and the UK has been writing checks all over the world, but they had nothing to back it. Look at it, guys. The world is changing. Power is moving away. Ottoman Empire crumbled. Roman Empire crumbled. Genghis Khan crumbled. In history, the rulers, they all crumble in the end. It is, sadly to say, I'm not here to make people scared or worried. It is the end of the dollar and the pound, and it's the rise of the BRICS, which is money backed by gold, which is controlled by Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and many more countries are going to jump in. This is just my opinion. This is not legal advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is my opinion. I don't want to get blocked or shadow banned or anything. I just want to give the news to all of my awesome followers out there. I am teaching people some of the best content in the world, and it's my duty not to be scared or fearful to make videos like this. The first currency coming out backed by gold. Gaddafi wanted this. Gaddafi wanted this. Saddam Hussein wanted this. If you write a check to a friend, you should have the money in the bank. Since 1971, these checks have been written by UK money printing. This is why the gas and electric prices went 4 times. The price of bread and butter. I'm going to leave you with a big thought. In 1950, 1960, a husband could work in a job and have 5 kids, and there would be enough money to support those 5 kids. Now, in 2022, 1 salary is not enough. You need 2 or 3 salaries to run a house. The world has changed. I love you all. Share this video. Peace out.
Listen to the Namibian president handle the twisted Eurocentric logic and condescending comment from the German ambassador. Black people should learn from this. No need to get angry. Just expose it for what it is.
Whereas in Namibia, for example, the number of Chinese people living here in the meantime is 4 times as much as, for example, the German community. And so far, it's not precisely the same what takes place all over the world. There are differences. And what I'm
Mr. Speaker, what is your problem with that? Why does it become your problem? It looks like it's a more European problem than our problem. You are so sorry for us. I don't see, Chinese will never come and play around here. As Germans not allowed to do that, which Germans are doing, by the way. You talk about Chinese, we allow Germans to come offer visas here. Red carpet. Our people are harassed in Germany. Even diplomatic passport holders in Germany. And you come in here, Germans come in here as they want. So why Chinese talk about Germans? How you are treating us there? Chinese don't treat us like that. Diplomatic passport, we will handle our own country. Don't be sorry for us.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Every time Westerner comes.
We used to say all roads lead to Rome. Today we can confidently say all roads to progress, all roads to what is better for humanity lead to Beijing. This is a country, this is a people that have developed themselves, that has developed itself without colonizing any country in the world, without plundering any country in the world, without subjugating any people in the world. This is a country that is developing with maximum respect for others, for their history, for their cultures, and recognizes the diversity that is there in civilization.
So you're never going to believe what happened today. Saudi Arabia just cut ties with the US dollar. This is the first time in 100 years that the dollar has had a real challenge. Just so we're clear, Saudi Arabia is one of the richest countries in the world with oil. And the dollar has been backed by oil. It's been called the petrodollar. See, the dollar used to be backed by gold. For every dollar, there was a piece of gold backing every dollar. But in 1972, 3, around there, President Nixon took us off the gold standard. So ever since then, it's been backed by nothing but oil. Really nothing, though. That's why we're able to print as much as we want. That's why we have such inflation going on in the United States and around the world. So to stay in power, we forced countries to buy oil with the dollar, and only the dollar. And if they didn't, we would go in, we'd invade their country, and we would blow them up. Well, you can't just go invade Russia and invade China. They're superpowers with nuclear weapons. There's nothing you can do. And those are two countries that said, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to use the dollar. Now, they did to an extent, right? We slapped sanctions on them and stuff like that. So they did to an extent. We had partnerships with Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia said, no, we're only going to accept dollars. But that is no longer happening. Now, what does that mean for you and I? Well, that's where the BRICS nations comes in. You got Brazil, China, Russia, India. Now you got Saudi Arabia, and many other countries are joining the BRICS nations because they're sick and tired of the dollar. They're sick and tired of the United States and the warmongers. If the U.S. doesn't get their way, and I'm from America, I love the country, I love the concept, I love democracy, I love the republic, I love some of the people, not all of them, depends on which side you're leaning. But my point is, the country as a whole and the idea of America is beautiful. But the politicians have fucked everything up. They're fucking useless. So here we are today. And if this happens and 100+ countries break away from the dollar, and 50% of the world's GDP stops using the dollar and starts using the yuan or a digital yuan or whatever it is, that is really bad for you and I. That means the United States will have to print more money faster and faster and faster, which eventually will turn into something called hyperinflation, where you're going to literally be waiting in line to get fucking bread. And you don't think that can happen in America? Okay, wait around and fucking see what happens. Instead of just waiting around, though, saying, oh, that's never going to happen, or, okay, I'll do something if it happens, start buying different assets. And no, I don't mean buying homes. First of all, the average person just can't go buy a bunch of fucking houses. This is, right? This is where I tell you guys, crypto, gold, silver, these things are going to come into play. As more dollars are printed, the Bitcoin, the crypto, the silver's value goes up. Okay? So you keep up with inflation. The money that you save into this won't dwindle away because of the money printing. Take my advice or not, but I promise you, this is going to be one of the best things, the best decisions you'll ever make. I'll say this just for legal purposes. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. But if you do your own research, or you just listen, but you do your own research if you want to. I've done thousands of hours of research on cryptocurrency, gold, silver, money, how it works, all these different things, what's going on in the world. I mean thousands of hours. And I can assure you, this is coming. Hyperinflation will happen in America. We are not invincible. As much as we want to think we are not invincible. Writing is on the wall. You see it. You see World War III. We're on the brink of World War III. But World War III may not be a nuclear war. World War III is probably going to be something to do with money and trade and oil, which could essentially turn into a war, like a real fucking war, like where we're invading countries and people are invading us and all this kind of shit. God, I hope not, but you never know. So anyways, at the end of the day, go do your own research.
Take a careful look at this. You've never seen anything like it. That's the President of the United States in his own house, shunned. Nobody would talk to him. So Biden wandered off looking vacant as a crowd formed around a former president, Barack Obama, who was obviously deeply grateful for the attention. And then it got worse. It got much more poignant than that. Watch Biden try to horn in on the conversation swirling around Obama. Everyone involved in that conversation, including Kamala Harris, who supposedly works for Biden, ignored Biden completely.